Hello, guys. Ian Alter, the Freedom Astrologer, once again here, and continuing with our spiritual awakening series, or spiritual awakening through astrology. And we're touching upon astrology, and we're kind of, or I'm kind of showing the phases of spiritual awakening through astrology. But it's also important to kind of remember these phases. At times we don't have time to look at astrology, or people can't even, they don't have the skills yet to look at astrology. So it's still also important to remember to remember these phases, to kind of orient yourself, during those phases, because there's so much going on during these transformational times. And not only transformation but openings, during opening to higher realms of time. So it's good to kind of ground yourself and orient and kind of have a framework or a map, in a sense, to navigate these areas. And this is one of the reasons why I even wanted to really do this series. And if you're new to the series, please go and check the previous videos. I won't go into too much detail what we are doing here. And but let's start jumping in. I think this one will be a little bit of a shorter one, because I touched upon these topics and themes already in the last video, in phase 3, or the helpers video. Now we're now in phase 4, and phase 4 I've titled the openings to light. Let's put it that way. And although the openings to light really start during the phase 3, even I would say in some sense during phase 2 as well. But now in phase 4, again, these openings to light, or connections to other realms, these insights, these big visions, these kundalini awakenings, these energy surges, and almost like big heart opening moments really start to get bigger. They also start getting, let's say, more consistent at times. They start to show you very directly of what is there, what is out there. Let's say maybe some of the things that you already disregarded in the past to kind of myth and maybe not even true. These during these openings to light, that I like to call them openings to light. This is where you really, the connection to you can say God or universe or everything there is, the source. Some use the source. Those connections get really direct, and there are moments during these openings to light where you feel like you're one with the universe. There's no separation. And these openings, the meaning, as I've assigned personally, the meaning of these openings to kind of show you who you truly are, what you're capable of, what actually is out there, what type of energies are actually out there, how you can connect to these. And after, a lot of that darkness that we mentioned in the first and second phase, and stepping into the light in the third phase, now the fourth phase is really like this period can really seem magical, so super kind of spiritual in a way. And let's bring in some astrology as well. So now we're kind of like remember the ruler of the first, and here in the last examples as well, we had the ruler of the first, which in this example is Jupiter as well. We stepped out of the 8th house and we stepped into the 9th house. So we kind of like stepped out of the darkness into the light. Now these openings start. Now these mentors come. And as we continue on in this 9th house, or the ruler of the Senate, for example, in the 9th house, or it can be, the ruler of the 9th house giving you an sextile trine. In Jupiter's case, it can be also opposition or a square as well to the ruler of the ascendant. Remember, guys, when we're talking about these kinds of spiritual openings and maybe seeing very big picture stuff and kind of mentors and helpers and opening to the light, we're talking a lot about um, of Jupiter and the ninth house. The 12th house we will bring in as well, because the 12th house is a very kind of spiritual house as well. But for now, we're talking about the ruler of the ascendant, the ruler of the ninth house, and kind of combining these together. Whenever there's an aspect between these, or the ruler of the ninth giving an aspect to the ascendant as well. And now, and Jupiter giving an aspect to the ascendant, Jupiter in the ninth house in general can mean that those openings as well. But in this case, the ruler of the first is Jupiter and goes into the ninth house, so it's kind of like a double whammy. So this is one of the reasons I brought this example as well. And I will show you one other example here as well, because right now in this example you can see that trine from the ninth house is very, very precise with the ascendant. 7 degrees, both are at 7 degrees, a little bit, 43 minutes for the Jupiter, but also it's when it's in within the same degree, it's still, all these openings, all these intuitions, all these connections, all these bigger picture stuff, all these events are happening. There's a lot there, definitely. And also, just to kind of draw from the third phase, these are the moments as well that I've noticed when kind of like important mentors come into your life, or maybe important teachers come into your life. It's especially when we're talking about trine and sextile, but when we're talking about Jupiter in general, it can happen very often during squares and oppositions as well. Maybe during, what I would like to say about during squares and oppositions with Jupiter, it's almost like we're too darn optimistic. Let's put it that way. Um, yeah, so look out for these, certainly. For let's say if you're already on the spiritual more, you're the more difficult phases I've gone through, and you've kind of went through these spiritual phases and cycles of awakening multiple times, then still when these transits happen, these are still moments of when your intuition is very strong, you're getting insights, you're getting teachers, you're getting a lot of that stuff. But if you're let's say it's more overwhelming, definitely, if it's the first time you're going through this. So yeah, guys, I hope this makes sense, because still, the fourth phase for me, the openings to light, this is a very optimistic, positive phase it seems like everything is possible. You're so connected to the other realms. This is the places where maybe the optimism or the magic, seeing everything as magic, maybe can go overboard at times, but it's still quite an optimistic, and your worldview from a very practical point of view expands as well during this time. And many guides, helpers, those helpers who are, let's say, in the other realms, these guides are also coming in and giving you this help and these openings and insights into what is possible. So yeah, it is a pretty darn good time. Enjoy it, and at times these moments can be a little bit fleeting. Maybe the heart opens big, and maybe you have a big vision or a dream, but that can also last for a longer period of time, depending on a little bit what the ruler of your ninth house is and what's there in the ninth house currently. But with Jupiter, it usually most often not lasts for at least a year, for around a year. Let's put it that way. So hope this helps. I know this is like the phase four. It's much easier to kind of accept or live through than, let's say, phase one or phase two. So there's no, there's, yeah, openings, kundalini energy, and stuff happening. But if you can at times, maybe what I would have wished upon myself going through that, I went into very like a lot of those, let's say, spiritual areas or other dimensional areas, and I started to almost get away too much from the earthly experience. And in a way, it's a time for that, to do that as well. But I could have, if I could have or could go back in time, let's say right now, having the experience and knowledge that I have now, rather, I would have done my best to stay grounded in it all, and still be really connected to the earthly life, ground more, be in kind of nature more. That's always a good thing to ground yourself with, to not get too high and mighty in those other dimensional realities. But that's okay as well. You can do that as well. No harm, no foul usually there. Just maybe discerning, or getting away from that material life a little bit there. So, guys, hope this helps. Hope this kind of illustrates what the phase four is about, and how we can really, from astrological point of view, connect some aspects, some planets. And I think really the phase 3-4 is very much associated with the ninth house and the planet Jupiter. So, thank you very much for listening, watching, and phase 5 coming up soon.